In today's video, we will do a full review of the newest Omega Speedmaster, the first Omega in space. There's a lot of excitement going on about this watch, and in today's review, I'll try to explain why. But first, let's talk about the case and the dimensions. It comes in a stainless steel case, 39.7 millimeters in case diameter. It's about 48 millimeters from one lug to another. The case height is 13.4 millimeters and the lug opening is 19 mil. If you're familiar with the Moonwatch, you probably have noticed one of the big differences between this watch and the Moonwatch, and it's the fact that it comes in a completely different case. First of all, it comes with straight lug case design, not turned lugs like you would find in the Moonwatch. Secondly, the case is smaller. It's under 40 mil as opposed to Moonwatch being over 42 mil. This new version of the watch is of course based on a version from 1960s, as the name would suggest, is the very first Omega in space. And I know Omega likes to focus on this space exploration and it can get a little bit confusing. So let me try to explain what makes this watch special. This version of the watch came before the Moonwatch. The Moonwatch is of course the most popular Omega Speedmaster, but this watch, this version of the watch came years before Omega became official partner of NASA. In fact, this was a personal watch of Walter Wally Schirra on a mission Sigma 7 into the outer space. That's right, he just wore his own personal watch on the wrist into the outer space. How badass is that? And that watch happened to be an Omega Speedmaster. Now that reference featured an acrylic crystal and a different movement, but a lot of elements of this new version of the watch are very faithful to the original. This new version does come with a domed sapphire crystal with some AR coating, and usually I like Speedmasters with an acrylic crystal. I think it gives the watch a bit of charm, but on this watch the execution with the domed sapphire is so good that I actually think it works pretty well for this version, and I'm not really missing the acrylic crystal all that much. This watch also comes with an aluminum bezel insert. It's not sapphire, and in 2024 a lot of people would expect sapphire, but I'm actually glad that they went with aluminum. I think it gives this watch a little bit more charm, and of course it is very vintage inspired. There is a small detail dot over 90 like in the original. It's an important detail for a lot of Speedmaster purists, so I'm glad that it's present here. Now, as far as the case shape, as I said, it's very different to the Moonwatch. It also features a symmetrical case shape. As you can see, the Moonwatch has an asymmetrical case shape where the case slightly protrudes on the right side to protect the crown and the pushers. Here, the case is symmetrical, there is no protrusion, and the pushers and the crown are completely exposed. This watch, just like the original, has pump-style pushers and a simple push-pull style crown. It's not a screw-down crown, so the watch comes with 50 meters of water resistance. At the back of the watch, you can find a solid case back. I do kind of wish it came with a sapphire case back so you can see the beautiful movement, but in this case, Omega chose to do a solid case back with the Omega logo in the center and the first Omega in space written there, as well as the date, October 3rd, 1962. The dial of this watch is the standout feature. That's the other big differentiating factor between this and the Moonwatch. As you can see, the dial is not exactly matte black like you would find on a Moonwatch. This one has this bluish grayish color, which looks really good in person. I tried to emulate that over the video, but it doesn't do it justice. I think the execution of the dial is really good. They have created the effect of this bluish grayish color using CVD, in other words, chemical vapor deposition, and I think this effect really works for this model. Now, a lot of chatter has been happening online about the faux patina on the set of hands and on the indexes. A lot of people dislike that feature, and I can understand why. I personally don't really like faux patina on a lot of watches, but for whatever reason, I think on this model it works. I can try to picture this model with sort of white, stark indexes, and I don't think it would work as well as it works with the sort of faux patina look. Also, a pretty big difference between this and the Moonwatch is the set of hands. These are what's called alpha hands as opposed to stick hands that you would find on the Moonwatch. But there is a bit of a negative that I have with these hands. They're not as legible as the white stick hands that you would find on the standard Moonwatch. One of the big selling features of the Speedmaster is the fact that it's easily readable upon the first glance. Well, with this watch, you do have to take a second glance or a third glance to really read the time. In certain lighting conditions, the hands really disappear, especially that sub-seconds hand by the 9 o'clock position. That's the main timekeeping for the watch. In certain lighting conditions, it's very difficult to read that hand. I mean, I don't know how many people will actually be interested in reading the seconds to that degree. You do have a chronograph function, but if you are interested in reading that seconds hand, it's pretty difficult to do so. The other sort of standout feature of this dial is the fact that it has the old 1960s Omega logo, and that's applied by the 12 o'clock position. I think that looks really sharp. Also, the font for the Omega is that vintage font, which just sort of works with this vintage inspired look. And once again, I think all of that ties in this vintage-like quality of the watch. Now, as far as the shade of blue-gray that is used for the dial, as I mentioned, I really do like it. It makes this watch special, it makes it different, and it is very subtle. It doesn't show itself in all lighting conditions. In the darker lighting conditions, it looks very dark gray, it almost looks black, but then of course, the more light you shine on the dial, the more it reveals itself. It is a very beautiful effect, especially when you see it in person. As far as the strap options, you could have it on the leather strap, and you can have it on a brown or black leather strap, or you could have it on the stainless steel bracelet. I always recommend get it on the stainless steel bracelet and then just buy the strap afterwards, because you will have more options. However, you do have to keep in mind that this watch features a 19mm lug opening, so finding some straps might be a little difficult. You do have to look around and buy specific straps, because I don't know how many people just have a 19mm width strap lying around in their drawer. As far as the design of the bracelet goes, once again, it's completely different to what you would find on the Moonwatch. This one features a flat link bracelet, with the center link being executed with a satin finish, and the outer links are executed with a high polish. That contrast really does work, and it looks great. The combination of this flat link bracelet and the straight lug design on the case, I think works really well. Again, it makes the watch look very special, very different from everything else. Now, this one still features the new improved Omega clasp, so it has a quick micro extension. It just gives you, I believe, only one micro extension, maybe two, and that's it. So it's not like the Rolex's extension where you have multiple ratchets. Here you only have one or two, but I think it's still pretty good for those hot days when you need just a little bit more breathing room on your wrist. As far as the quality of the bracelet, it's fantastic. It's exactly what you expect from a luxury watch. And I know in the past there have been some debates whether Omega is a luxury watch or not. It is absolutely a luxury watch at around $8,000. Of course it is. And the bracelet does feel of a high quality. It does feel like a bracelet that belongs on an $8,000 watch. As far as the fit on the wrist, on the bracelet, it fits really well. I have about a 7¼ inch wrist, and I believe that this watch wears better than the Moonwatch. First of all, the dimensions are better. It's 40mm as opposed to 42.5mm, even though the size of my wrist is big enough to pull off wearing a Moonwatch. I think this one here just looks better, more proportionate on the wrist. I am a big fan of how it fits. It's also thin enough, 13.5mm, so you can slide it under the cuff of pretty much any jacket, and depending on how tight the cuff of your shirt is, I think it should still slide under it pretty much without a problem. This watch features an in-house caliber 3861. It's the newest caliber that is featured in the most recent version of the Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch. It is also exactly the same movement as I have in my Snoopy, although that one is slightly modified to have the rocket ship flying and all that kind of stuff. But nevertheless, it's a really good master chronometer. It's MATA certified. It features 50 hours of power reserve, 15,000 Gauss of anti-magnetic resistance. It has 50 hours of power reserve and 26 joules. It is a manual wind caliber, so you do have to wind it on a daily basis. It became a bit of a routine every time I wear my Speedy to sort of have it wound every morning while I have my coffee. I really enjoy that process, but I know to some people it might be a bit annoying to keep on winding the watch. They prefer automatic watch as well. Speedmaster, the Moon watch, are traditionally manual wound. I also appreciate the choice of this movement over the 321. Now, the original watch from 1960s did feature caliber 321, and of course over the years Omega has re-released these movements in various different Speedmasters, but the problem with that is that price point is really getting higher and higher. When you introduce that movement, the price point would probably be double of what it is right now if they did in fact have the swatch with the 321. So I do appreciate Omega's sort of discipline of featuring the caliber 3861 as opposed to their new and updated 321 caliber, even though that would be more faithful to the original, but it would make the watch sort of unattainable for a lot of people. I think Omega overall did a fantastic job with this watch. One of my favorite things about it is the price point. Having it be around $8,000 is actually cheaper than the Sapphire version of the Moon watch, which is fantastic. I'm glad that they went that route, because I'm sure if they had the price $1,000 or $2,000 higher, a lot of people would still be buying these watches. So that's sort of good to see. I also really like the dial on this watch, the case design, all of that is fantastic. It's a very comfortable watch, but there are some legibility issues. It's not as legible as the Moon watch. Also, the faux patina, I know, is not going to be to everyone's taste, not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So those are some of the negatives, but overall, I'm a big fan. If I didn't already have two Speedmasters in my collection, I'd probably add this one as well. I'm trying to justify it in my head, but I don't think this one is going to be in my collection anytime soon. But if it's going to be in your collection, leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know why you're choosing to buy this watch. And if you're not buying this watch, or if you don't like this watch, leave a comment as well. Let me know why you are not buying the watch. I always enjoy reading your comments. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more videos like this in the future, and a huge thank you to Omega Boutique here in Vancouver, Canada, for letting me borrow this watch for review. Those guys are fantastic. So if you're looking for this watch or any other watch, give them a call. Go down to the boutique if you're local, check out their inventory. They always have all the newest models very quickly. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye.